Hopefully it will be productive.
Any concrete outcomes to expect?
After the meeting.
Un nuage, c'est pas de nuage. Là, il y a un nuage. Hein. Il y a un nuage pour l'instant.
Good afternoon, everyone, distinguished media. This is an important meeting today on a coalition of the willing. I believe that we have a clear goal, the goal supporting Ukraine unwaveringly, supporting Ukraine through strengths, so the peace through strengths, so it must be just and sustainable, and that's why, of course, we appreciate also the leadership of UK and France, gathering us, assembling us, here the ministers who will be providing also guidelines to our military. Of course, the reassurance force, which is on agenda. It is an important mechanism how we can support Ukraine as well. Of course, some details still must be carved out. Some parameters of the ceasefire or peace agreement also, of course, must be established. Latvia has played an important role. We believe that we must be part of the coalition of the willing, and I would even add coalition of the able. So we've been able supporting Ukraine with 0.25% from our GDP, which goes militarily to Ukraine every year, this year and next year, and last year we've been top 3 in terms of military support. We've been providing equipment. We are leading or co-leading together with UK the drone coalition. We believe all technologies start changing the battlefield, and of course we are also one of the leading nations in training Ukraine already for years, Ukrainian soldiers, and will be continuously doing so also in different formats. Well, the reassurance force, of course, still must be discussed in details. There are several dimensions to it, but I would not go too much public before we also make some decisions. But at the same time, as I mentioned previously, there are several processes at the same time, in a sense. Namely, is that, of course, we have to deal with Russia. We have to deal with strong sanctions. We have to deal with ensuring sustainable and just peace, supporting Ukraine. And then at the same time, of course, we are speaking specifically about concrete mechanisms, what we can do also within the framework of reassurance force. But then countries come together. Of course, we put together how we see it, what we can do, what would be the right choices. So at the very end, it is also what Europe must step up with our allies as well. This is the time to do it, and I think this is a mechanism which can be certainly employed in this regard.
Minister, at the first meeting of the Coalition of the Willing here at NATO headquarters, does it mean that NATO is moving closer to the Coalition of the Willing? Would the Coalition of the Willing also be able to use, for example, command and control systems of NATO or intelligence structures of NATO?
Well, there are different formats, and there is a format, of course, Coalition of the Willing. There is a format of Rammstein, which will take place tomorrow. So there are ways, formats, what can be employed in this regard. It is not a NATO mission in any way. So yes, it takes place in a NATO building, but at the very end, this is a coalition of 30 countries with different regional perspectives as well here. Excuse me, once more.
According to some reports, media reports, the U.S. is not willing, reluctant to providing any support for this force. So is it possible to put it together without any U.S. support?
Well, let's face it. Let's not underestimate what Europe and European partners have. We are strong economically. We are developing, of course, our capabilities in military terms and defense terms. I think everyone understands also that it goes hand in hand. More military financial investment in our defense also means that we can also organize things, coordinate things, and also support Ukraine more efficiently. So these are the wider framework. Within the EU white paper, of course, it is about what Europe can do itself, but it is about also porcupine strategy supporting Ukraine. So what do I mean by this? We can do a lot ourselves. We can do a lot as European nations. We have a lot of our own capabilities. At the same time, yes, still there are the details must be carved out how we cooperate with our partners. We believe strongly in transatlantic linkage. We believe that, again, those formats like Rammstein must be sustained, where US is also part of, but there are also other formats where US might not be part of. And I guess fairly enough that in our neighborhood, in European neighborhood, we Europeans should be able also to deal efficiently with aggressor countries, especially taking into account our capacities, our capabilities, our will also to, of course, invest in those challenging times what we are all facing.
Will the reassurance force?
How many troops on the ground? would be a credible reassurance force, and how many is your country willing to supply?
Well, there are of course still discussions also on specifics. As I said, I will not go perhaps into the details. Yes, there are countries which are now also discussing, considering nationally what they can contribute. Of course, contributions are extremely important. We must remember that Europe have all around 2 million soldiers, so 2 million under uniform. So we can actually do a lot. Another question is how efficient we are, how able we are to put together mobile forces. But again, this is a wider context. What is a peace agreement or ceasefire framework? So there are a number of pieces of puzzle which we should put together. There is certainly the will. That's why the reassurance force is being discussed, what specifically we can do. And Latvia, yes, we consider potentially also, of course, contributing. But once more, it is connected, it's related specifically to the peace agreement or ceasefire parameters. It is also, of course, focused on what we do in terms of training. I mean, we've been, I would say, training leader of Ukrainian soldiers, so we, of course, certainly would see potential also some role in this regard. And last but not least, for Latvia, for some other countries which are on the eastern flank, we have to ensure also a regional eastern flank protection and defense against aggressor countries. So that's why, of course, also the providing, contributing soldiers or representatives or contribution to the reassurance force in Ukraine, we should not weaken our own defenses, being on a border with aggressor country. And we take it very seriously. We contribute strongly. In coming years, it will be 5% from our GDP will go for defense expenditure.
Would it be an option that the reassurance force will end up just being a monitoring force in Ukraine?
Well, first of all, once more, we are all interested in ensuring the stable peace, just peace, and sustainable peace. So that's why, of course, we have to provide everything what we can provide, also what Ukraine needs. So this is for task for the countries, also task for the ministers, together with the military planning. So to go hand in hand, how we can do it as more efficient. So there's certainly mission from mission differs, so there are different missions. So certainly this reassurance force, I think already name expresses quite a lot. So it of course reassures first of all Ukrainian side. We realize who is aggressor country and who must be supported as well.
Are you confident in the talks that many states, other states will send troops, and do you think it will be enough?
Well, of course, we must do everything what is efficient, what we can also agree upon. Yes, if it's 30 countries, we must remember that every country, of course, has its own capabilities, also understanding, but at the same time there is a common understanding that we have to be unified, that's why this is a coalition of the willing, and I once more can underline, it's not just coalition of the willing, it's also a coalition of the able, or it is those countries which provided support and which look for a new upgrade, new enhancement of that support, what we can provide. Of course, let's be realistic, most likely there are some limits as well, as I said about the quite a number of soldiers at disposal of European nations, but at the same time it must be also tailored according to all the needs under concrete circumstances, also with clear sort of setting and format in mind what ceasefire means, what potential peace agreement means. Well, that certainly, first of all, must be addressed to the Turkish authorities. So I would not speak on behalf of Turkish authority in this regard. So I can speak on, I can speak on. Well, of course, it is discussable. The coalition of the willing consists of many countries. And of course, if Turkey would express also its willingness, I think it certainly should be discussed. NATO is part of NATO. Turkey is our ally. Turkey is our NATO partner.
How sustainable do you think?
Colleagues, last one, yes?
How much longer before you actually have a concrete plan that you can put forward to say this is what this coalition is willing to contribute?
Well, again, the primary goal is to ensure the just and sustainable peace. So that's why there are a number of those dimensions what we have to deal with. So the war has been lasting already for 3 years. So we realize that this is existential threat, of course, to Ukraine, Ukrainian nation, but to all of us. So that's why, of course, on the one hand, we must be as fast as possible. There is a sense of urgency, but at the same time, we have to put all the pieces of puzzle efficiently together. So once more, there is a strategic dimension, there is operational dimension, there is, of course, also Ukrainian side and willingness and identification of those needs, what should be also efficiently implemented together. So there are a number of those elements which should be sort of put together efficiently in a good synergy. Thank you. Well, I think let's see. We will see it also today. So there will be discussion exactly on the timeline. So we've been discussing it already for some time. I think we already see some move forward quite considerably. So there already been different formats. This is the first meeting of the ministers of the Coalition of the Willing, but certainly this has been on the agenda already for some time. So now it's more about already practical implementation. So at the same time, of course, keeping also the wider strategic picture in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that I will stop here. So thank you so much. And of course, good luck with, I think, very important day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Just shortly from the Finnish perspective, this is an important meeting, first meeting with defense ministers in a coalition of willing. We are seeing that Russia doesn't have enough desire for peace, so it's highly important that we are strengthening the Ukraine's position in military, in industrial field, and also at the financial field, and also increase the pressure for Russia to come to the negotiation table. And of course, we are today having also the briefings from the military side that what kind of could be these security arrangements after the peace or ceasefire or some kind of peace treaty.
What concrete details do you have about the Coalition of the Willing, this reassurance force? How many troops would you need?
Well, we are hearing today more detailed briefings about that. What is the amount of troops or capabilities, what is needed. But the main focus must be that Ukraine's armed forces are the top one priority now to strengthen up. That's their key security guarantee, that we have to even more strengthen their army and defense industry after the ceasefire. And the second pillar is that this Western forces or Western operation will support the Ukraine's army forces.
How many troops do you think would be necessary to provide reassurance for Ukraine from Western nations, including your own? How many are you prepared to contribute to that?
Well, there's a lot of public discussion now about the amount of troops, but we are now hearing the military assessment today. And of course, the Ukrainians are the key players, of course, here now, that what is their assessment. From the Finnish perspective, we think that the United States is a crucial player still in the guaranteeing the lasting security, and that's why we are emphasizing that the United States must be involved in somehow. Thank you. I have to go.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Very nice to be here back at the NATO HQ. As you know, we're having a Coalition of the Willing meeting this afternoon, and then we have the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting tomorrow. Sweden, of course, announced now its second package to Ukraine just very recently. This is our biggest package, so in the last 30 days we've been providing the Ukrainian with commitments for over 3 billion euros. Our focus is now very clear. It's on supporting the Ukrainians as much as possible. We're front-loading our support to Ukraine as well to put them in such a good position as possible in order to, if they want to negotiate.
It's the first meeting of the Coalition of the Willing here at NATO HQ. Does it mean that NATO is moving closer to the Coalition of the Willing? Would it be an option that also NATO control structures or intelligence structures would actually be used for missions of the Coalition of the Willing?
I expect that's one of the things that's going to be deliberation over right now. It's a little bit at the early stages. This is the first time that the defense ministers meeting. Of course, the heads of state and governments and our CHODs has been meeting as well. But this is an important aspect also to the defense ministers meetings as well. And I hope to have more answers after the the meeting. I think that's a bit early to tell as well. From the Swedish position, we said it's important with some form of US engagement. I think it's important to make an assessment how this will affect NATO's other DDA activities, defense and deterrence activities, and of course there had to be some sort of rules of engagement. But once again, it's a bit early to tell, and our focus predominantly right now is on supporting the Ukrainians as much and providing the Ukrainians with the new support packages. That's our key focus right now.
First French proposal.
Sorry, sir.
Are you confident that enough states will participate in the peacekeeping forces?
Well, I think there's strength into numbers, and that's good. The more that do contribute, as I say, I don't exclude the possibility that Sweden is going to participate. But there's a number of questions that we need to get clarified, and I think there's several things that has to be sorted out before we can make any kind of commitment.
Sir, what do you think would be a credible reassurance force in terms of numbers? Are you talking about tens of thousands? I mean, we know the Ukrainians would like hundreds of thousands, but do you think 20, 30 would be enough? And do you think there'd be enough countries contributing to that?
I think there's helpful if there's a clarity of what that mission would entail and what it would do if we were peacekeeping, deterrence, or reassurance. I think that depending on the volume will based on what objectives, and I think that the rules of engagement would be another thing that would be very important to get clarified.
But in
all right, thank you.
Sweden is willing to contribute, correct?
We don't exclude the possibility that Sweden contributing. That's correct.
some parts this morning. Good afternoon. It's good to be here. This is the first time we have the Coalition of the Willing in the format of defense ministers. I think it's important that we have the different formats to really show the support and what more can we do. I mean, on the European Union side, we are the biggest provider of training. We have the training mission where we have already trained over 73,000 Ukrainian soldiers. We also have the civilian mission. The mission could also do more. And then we are also the biggest supporter of Ukrainian defense industry. Of course, as whole, Europe is the biggest provider also of military aid. And we are constantly pushing what more can we do, because we see the situation is such that Ukraine it has been now 4 weeks ago when they were very clear that they agreed to the unconditional ceasefire, and Russia still hasn't agreed to the ceasefire. So it's clear that Ukraine wants peace, but Russia so far doesn't. So we need to do more on our side.
It's the first meeting here at NATO HQ of the Coalition of the Willing. Does it mean that the NATO structures will also move closer to the Coalition of the Willing, and that the reassurance force could potentially use NATO control systems, NATO intelligence systems as well?
Well, NATO has been involved in the discussions that we have in the Coalition of the Willing, and it is a spot where we have these discussions. So I think everybody's thinking in terms of what more can we do in terms of the things that Ukraine really needs. That also is intelligence, that also